Carl Jung wrote something that should stop you cold. The greatest tragedy of the soul is not its collision with the darkness of the unknown, but its silent, willing surrender to a sunlit prison built out of its own memories. Right now, you might believe you're simply revisiting a better time, a childhood summer that smelled like cut grass, a song that used to make your chest ache with possibility, the version of you that didn't carry this much weight. But what if that gentle warmth isn't comfort at all? What if it's the chemical numbing agent your psyche releases while it amputates your future, one golden recollection at a time? You are not remembering. You are hiding, and the more carefully you craft that internal cathedral of yesterday, the more incapable you become of standing in the hour that's right in front of you. In the next minutes, I'm going to walk you through 7 chambers of this silent psychological erosion chambers that Jung sketched almost a century ago, but that have now become the default architecture of an entire generation, trapped between a chaotic, accelerating present and a polished, never-existent past. If you stay until the end, you will not simply understand nostalgia. You will see it as the most elegant theft of your life force, and you will have the exact key to step out of the museum and back into your own skin. 1. The engineered sanctuary in 2026. The external world has become a machine that never stops screaming. Economic fault lines crack open by the week. Geopolitical maps are being redrawn with disorienting speed. And artificial intelligence is quietly rewriting what it means to have a human career, a human relationship, even a human thought. This is the daily weather. So the mind, brilliant survivor that it is, initiates a profound retreat. It scans the timeline for a moment when the air felt lighter, and it almost always lands somewhere in the late 20th century, the analog glow of a cart television, the physical weight of a mixtape, the imagined simplicity of a neighborhood where kids played outside until the streetlights came on. This isn't random. This is the psyche voting for a sanctuary. But here is the trick your brain plays, and you must understand it before anything else can shift. Your autobiographical memory is not a courtroom stenographer. It's a film editor with a deeply biased agenda. When you recall the summers of your youth, you automatically delete the boredom that stretched for hours, the adolescent anxiety that made your stomach churn, the arguments your parents had behind doors you pretended not to hear, the insecurity you felt about your body, your face, your place in the social order. What remains is a polished artifact, a highlight reel cut by a director who wants you to stay on the couch. A trailer, never the full movie. Jung would call this an encounter with a self-constructed golden shadow. Not the dark, rejected, shame-soaked parts of yourself you hide from the world, but the artificially gilded parts, the memories you've lacquered with perfection until they gleam. You have taken a messy, breathing decade and compressed it into a single chord progression, a specific texture of sunlight through a window that cannot be reopened, the scent of a particular brand of shampoo. And the moment you do that, you have created a psychological sanctuary that is fundamentally unreachable. It never existed in the form you now worship. And that is precisely the hook your ego will not let go of. Because if the past can be made flawless, then no present moment can ever compete. No current partner can match the ghost you've curated from an ex you barely understood at the time. No current city can compare to the hometown your mind has repainted in watercolor. No current achievement can outshine the potential you imagine you had before life got heavy. So you stay in the loop. You wonder why you feel hollow even though you have access to more comfort, more music, more media than any human in history. The answer is brutally simple. You are trying to go home to a house you drew yourself, not one that was ever built. So the first question I need you to sit with, not answer quickly, but let it burn in your chest like a coal, is this: what specific pain right now is so unbearable that your mind had to construct a false golden age to escape it? Because the past you're romanticizing wasn't easier, you were just smaller, and the world felt more manageable because someone else was holding the map. Now you're supposed to hold it, and you're choosing to stare at a faded, fictional copy. 2. The ego's escape pod, the psyche, is not nostalgic because it loves history. It is nostalgic because it is terrified of the present assignment. And this assignment has a name that Jung resurrected from alchemy: individuation. It is the process of becoming who you actually are, distinct from the collective, distinct from parental expectation, distinct from the identity you cling to because it was handed to you. And that process is brutal. It demands that you separate from the tribe, that you tolerate the cold wind of genuine differentiation, that you hold the tension of not fitting in and not going back. Most people will never fully undertake it. They will tinker at the edges and call it growth. What does the ego do when faced with such a terrifying call? It time travels. It builds a vehicle out of selective memory and rides it straight into a period when you were safely tucked inside a group identity, a family role, a smaller, less demanding version of consciousness. Jung would identify this as the regressive pull of the pure eternus, the eternal child who would rather live in the shimmering potential of what could have been than the gritty, unglamorous reality of what must be done, day after day, without applause. You can detect this mechanism in yourself with a very precise clinical symptom. Pay attention the next time you face a decision that could genuinely alter your trajectory: leaving a stagnant relationship, launching a creative project that might fail publicly, relocating to a city where no one knows your history. In that exact moment of necessary courage, does your mind suddenly flood with images of your childhood bedroom? Do you find yourself craving the cereal you ate at 15? The video game you played after school? The sound of a particular laugh from a decade ago? That is not coincidence. That is your ego handing you a chemical sedative. It is whispering, "Don't leap. Look backward. See? It was safe there. There were no stakes. There was no self to betray." I call this the frozen child archetype, not merely in the sense of trauma pathology, though that is real and deserves its own healing, but in a universal architecture of avoidance. It's the part of you that prefers the known cage to the unknown wilderness. A known past, even a painful one, has predictable edges. An uncertain future has none. And in an era of algorithmic disruption, where the career you trained for can evaporate in 24 months, and romantic relationships form and dissolve on glass screens, the future has never felt more like an abyss. So the frozen child tightens its grip. It insists that the only reliable home is the one you already left. But here is what the frozen child deliberately hides from you. When you inhabit a life that no longer exists, you become a ghost in your own body. You are physically present in 2026, paying taxes, brushing your teeth, attending meetings, but your emotional energy, your libido, your creative fire, what the Jungians would call your anima or animus charge, it's all back there, animating a corpse of a timeline. And the people who love you now, they get a fraction. They get the exhausted remainder after you've spent 3 hours mentally rehearsing a version of yourself that died long ago. You are asking them to love a hologram. So let me ask you a quieter, more dangerous question. Who in your immediate life right now is receiving the shadow of you, while your full, vivid self lives in a time that cannot answer back. If you can name them, you've just located the relational cost of your nostalgia. 3. The unlived life as a comfortable chain there is a form of procrastination that wears the mask of depth. It looks introspective. It sounds poetic in journal entries. It even feels meaningful while you're doing it. But it is an elaborate defense against growth. Jung called it the unlived life, the accumulation of potential that never becomes actual because the person refuses to leave the waiting room of memory. Excessive nostalgia is not a harmless stroll down memory lane. It is a sophisticated refusal of the present tense, dressed in vintage clothing. Think about the last time you fell into what I call a nostalgia loop. You watched a clip of an old TV show on your phone. The algorithm, that sleepless sentinel, noticed. It fed you another. Then a behind-the-scenes interview. Then a fan edit of the best moments set to lo-fi music. Before you knew it, an entire hour dissolved, and you were deep in a comment section discussing character arcs from a series that concluded 15 years ago. Now, be surgically honest. Was that hour recreation, or was it avoidance? On the other side of that screen, what task, what difficult conversation, what blank page, what inner work was waiting for you that you didn't feel ready to begin? The loop is ingenious because it gives you the emotional payoff of experience without any of the risk. New experiences are threatening. They could fail. You could be rejected. You could discover you're not as talented as you hoped. But consuming old media? There is zero risk. You know the ending. You know the melody. Your nervous system gets a bath of predictability. And predictability in a chaotic world masquerades as love. But it's not love. It's anesthesia. Jungian psychology would frame this as a refusal of the opus, the soul's work. Individuation requires you to step into the unknown, to forge new symbolic experiences, to encounter the parts of yourself that have never been given a name. It cannot be done by rewatching. It cannot be done by curating a vintage aesthetic and calling it personality. The unlived life is heavy. It accumulates as a kind of soul weight, a fatigue that no amount of sleep can cure, because the exhaustion is not physical. It's the exhaustion of potential that is rotting, not ripening. There's a clinical truth here that will land hard if you let it. You cannot create new, meaningful experiences while you are over-consuming old ones. Psychic energy is a finite resource. If you direct it backward, nothing remains for the forward move. So the artist who endlessly studies the masters, but never paints. The writer who rereads beloved novels, but faces a blank page with panic. The lover who replays memories of an ex, but keeps their current partner at arm's length. They are all living in the shadow of the unlived life. They are, in Jung's stark language, squandering the seed of consciousness. And the tragedy is, they often feel deeply spiritual or emotionally connected while doing it. Because the nostalgia loop simulates depth without demanding the sacrifice that real depth requires. Question 3. What is the one new, frightening, genuinely transformative experience you are avoiding by ritualistically returning to the old one? If you can name it, you've just found the exact door you're meant to walk through. The door is locked because you keep polishing the key of yesterday instead of forging a new one. 4. Archetypal hunger and the manufactured home. We've touched on the brain's editing, the ego's escape, and the stagnation of the unlived life. Now we must go deeper, into a hunger that no playlist, no aesthetic mood board, no retro fashion hall can ever satisfy. This is the soul's longing for home, but not a geographic home. not the house with the creaky stairs. Jung would call this the ache for the pleroma, the state of undifferentiated wholeness before consciousness split you into a separate self. It's the memory of being one with the mother, one with the cosmos, one with a reality that required no decisions, no boundaries, no lonely standing. Some spiritual traditions call it the garden before the fall. Psychology calls it the oceanic feeling. And here is the catastrophe of our current technological moment. We have built massive algorithmic systems, social media platforms, streaming services, AI-curated feeds that have become exquisitely precise at exploiting this archetypal hunger. They know you are lonely for a unity you cannot name. So they feed you personalized loops of your own history. They detect that a specific song from 2008 gives you a dopamine spike mixed with melancholy, and they ensure you hear it again, surrounded by visual triggers from that era. They serve you memories on the anniversary of a photo, packaging your own life back to you as content. They generate synthetic nostalgia for decades you didn't even live through, so that a 14-year-old can feel homesick for 1985. This is not benign. This is the industrialization of the sacred human longing for the womb. The algorithm has become a false home. It mimics the warmth of the maternal embrace by wrapping you in a digital replica of your own past. And the more you accept that substitute, the less energy you have to build a real psychological home in the present tense, a home constructed of current, messy, breathing relationships, present creative output that might be imperfect, and a grounded identity that can hold the tension of not knowing what's next. You end up a tenant in a museum of your own curated history, paying rent with your attention, never owning the day you're actually standing in. Jung spoke of the archetype of the Great Mother, not just as the nurturing principle, but also as the devouring one. A mother who refuses to let the child individuate, who keeps the child small and dependent by providing everything, becomes a gilded trap. In the 21st century, the algorithm has become the technological devouring mother. It keeps you small. It provides the milk of familiar content, so you never have to chew the solid food of genuine uncertainty. And the price? Your conscious unfolding stops. You remain a larva in a digital cocoon, dreaming of a butterfly you'll never become. So we have to name this hunger with precision. It is not for the 90s, or for vinyl records, or for old video games. Those are just the carriers. The hunger is for a state of being where you had no sharp edges separating you from the world, where the burden of becoming had not yet been laid on your shoulders. That state is gone. It is supposed to be gone. The entire purpose of a human life, in this depth psychology framework, is to leave that pre-conscious paradise and build a conscious self strong enough to contain its own darkness and light, to carry its own contradictions, and to offer something unique to the collective, to build a ship that can sail the open sea, not to stay on the shore weeping for the safety of the harbor. Question 4 will feel like a mirror you don't want to look into. How much of your daily identity, your taste, your sense of self, is being curated by an algorithm that knows your past better than you know your present? If the answer disturbs you, good. Disturbance is the beginning of awakening. 5. The inner museum and the frozen child's curators. Let's go further inside. Imagine your psyche as a vast museum. The curator is the frozen child archetype we spoke of. This curator has impeccable taste. Every exhibit is perfectly lit, dusted, and preserved. But nothing new enters the collection. The acquisitions department has been shut down. The curator's sole job is to keep you walking the same halls, touching the same velvet ropes, reading the same plaques. When a new experience knocks a potential friendship, a career pivot, a creative risk, the curator whispers, "This doesn't fit our collection. It might disrupt the aesthetic." So you turn the stranger away at the door. This internal museum becomes a full-time job of preservation. You spend hours curating playlists of your personal golden age, arranging your living space to echo a decade you can't return to, consuming media that reinforces the narrative that the best has already happened. And all the while, the living world outside the museum is moving, evolving, birthing new forms that you miss because you're inside, polishing artifacts. The frozen child is not evil. It is terrified. It associates the past with safety and the present with overwhelming complexity, global crises, identity fragmentation, the relentless pace of digital life. So it builds this museum as a sanctuary, but a sanctuary that you never leave becomes a prison. And the longer you stay, the more atrophied your present-day psychological muscles become. You lose the ability to tolerate ambiguity. You lose the appetite for newness. You become, in a very real sense, psychologically elderly before your time, living in a retirement home of your youth. So I need to ask you, what is the most recent new experience, a book, a person, a place, a challenge that you rejected because it didn't feel like you, when what it really didn't feel like was the museum you've built? That discomfort wasn't a sign of wrongness. It was the exit door rattling on its hinges. 6. The shadow of the golden age. By now you might be thinking, is all nostalgia pathological? Is there no place for tender recollection? There is, but only once you've done the painful work of separating the gold from the shadow. Every golden age you've constructed has a hidden shadow. The decade you romanticize politically also had profound injustice. The relationship you replay in slow motion had moments of suffocation you've erased. The simpler time of childhood was, for many, a time of powerlessness and confusion that you've repackaged as innocence. Jung insisted that anything left in the unconscious remains crude, primitive, and ultimately dangerous. A nostalgia that refuses to integrate the shadow of the past becomes a lie that controls you. It's like owning a beautiful house and refusing to acknowledge the toxic mold growing behind the walls. You breathe it in every day, and you wonder why you're sick. So part of the exit is to do a full psychological audit of your golden age. I invite you to take one specific memory you've enshrined, a perfect summer, a perfect friendship, a perfect moment, and ask it, in writing, what am I leaving out? What pain existed alongside the beauty? What was unresolved? Who was I leaving behind in that moment? This isn't to destroy the memory, it's to make it whole. A whole memory can instruct you. A sanitized, one-sided memory can only seduce you. The moment you integrate the shadow of your golden age, the past loses its hypnotic power. It becomes human, fallible, real, and a real past can be honored and then released. A fantasy past will keep you chasing a ghost forever. Question 5. What is the shadow you've been editing out of your favorite memory? If you're brave enough to answer, you'll feel a strange weight lift. The pedestal will crack, and you'll be free. 7. Alchemizing the ghost. We have walked through the engineered sanctuary, the ego's escape pod, the unlived life, the manufactured false home, the inner museum, and the shadow of the golden age. Everything until now was diagnosis. and diagnosis without a path forward is intellectual cruelty. So how do you step out of the ghost story without becoming a stranger to the beauty your past genuinely contained? The answer is not to kill memory. It's to transform your relationship to it from sedative to fuel. Jung called this the alchemical opus, taking the prima materia, the heavy lead of your stagnant longing, and transmuting it into the gold of conscious presence. First, you must integrate the lessons without letting them overwrite the now. There is a simple but fierce practice. When you notice the pull to nostalgia, pause and extract the value. Ask, what quality did I possess back then that I am not expressing today? Maybe it was boldness, spontaneity, trust. That quality is not locked in 1998. It is a latent energy in your psyche that you have projected backward and abandoned. You can reclaim it, not by dressing like the past, but by embodying that quality in a current context. If you were bold then, what would you dare now that you've been avoiding? Second, turn the gaze forward with as much creative energy as you've been spending on the rearview mirror. The past can be a library, not a residence. You can visit, check out a specific insight, and leave. But you must set a fierce boundary. Perhaps that looks like a conscious ritual. You give yourself exactly 15 minutes to listen to an old album with full presence, feeling it deeply. And then you close it and immediately do something physically creative in the hour that follows: writing, drawing, building, moving your body. You don't let the loop run automatically. You become the intentional director of your memory, not its passive consumer. Third, and this is the deepest Jungian move, you must dialogue with the frozen child inside you. Not to banish it, but to understand it and eventually integrate it. This part of you isn't malicious, it's terrified. It saw a future that looked like a void, and it grabbed the nearest branch, even if that branch was dead. You can, through active imagination or journaling, say to that part, I see you. I know you're scared, but I am the adult now. I can hold the uncertainty. You don't have to hide us in 2005 anymore. We can be here in 2026 together, safe enough to risk something new. This internal reconciliation frees up an astonishing amount of energy because you stop fighting yourself. The frozen child, when held rather than obeyed, becomes a source of tenderness, not a tyrant. Fourth, you must give your future self a richer gravitational pull than your past self. Right now, the past is magnetized because it's been edited into a masterpiece. You haven't applied the same creative editing to the future, so craft a vision of the next 3 years that is so compelling, so aligned with your actual values, that the stale pull of yesterday feels weak by comparison. Not a fantasy. A grounded, emotionally charged, sensory-rich picture of what you are building. When the psyche has a powerful future aim, nostalgia loses its addictive grip. It becomes a pleasant rest stop, not a permanent address. Finally, recognize that stepping out of the ghost of the past is an act of profound responsibility. You are not just doing it for yourself. Every hour you spend haunting a dead timeline, you are withholding your unique, irreplaceable contribution from the people who need it now: your family, your community, the world. The present world in 2026 does not need more people numbed out on curated memories. It needs people who can hold the tension of a messy, uncertain, wildly alive moment and still choose to create, to connect, to repair. Your individuation is not a luxury, it's a moral imperative in a world sliding further into collective regression. So let me leave you with a final question, and this one I want you to carry not just in your mind, but in your body, into the next hour of your life. What is the one step you will take today that your past defined self would never dare, but that your emerging, alive self knows is the only real exit from the museum? Answer it not with words, but with a small, irreversible action. Send the message. Book the appointment. Throw away the artifact you've been clutching. Walk into the room where the future is waiting. Thank you for walking this entire terrain with me. If something stirred in you that has been asleep, it's because it was ready to wake up. The past has its honored place.